here to help you with breeze. Planting seeds and teaching skills. Teachers turn schoolyards to dreams. Who hate school gardens with ease?
Hello, Lauren. I'm really excited to have you here with us. I hope that the audience excuses my scratchy voice because COVID decided to give me a visit. But hopefully this episode, because it's an interview, it wouldn't be me talking too much.
Mm.
So you wouldn't have to endure my scratchy voice for long. Hello, Lauren. I'm so excited to have you here. How about I just give it to you so that you can start talking about yourself and your amazing work.
You're so kind. Well, thank you so much for having me here. I know we've got a bit of a time difference on opposite sides of the country, so thank you for being so flexible, and I hope you feel better soon.
Thank
As
you.
you said, my name is Lauren MacLean. I live on the west coast of Canada. I have been a public school teacher for about 18 years now. Before I became a teacher, I would say my previous life, I used to play field hockey for Canada. When my sort of career in sports ended, I started working and being mentored at the Soaring Eagle Nature School. So it's located in North Vancouver in British Columbia. And I had the most amazing 2 years of my life. I was surrounded by these people that just could make everything become so alive and so connected. And I all of a sudden was in this new world. I mean, I was so entrenched in sports, and now I had all of this new knowledge and new inspiration coming from every angle. And then I became a public school teacher. So I was no longer able to sort of manage both jobs, but I really wanted to bring what I had learned at Soaring Eagle Nature School into the public school system. So scan forward 18 years, and I've sort of been doing it ever since, but with the help of a lot of other mentors. So I've had people help guide me, learning how to get my math curriculum more embedded in my outdoor explorations. So I've become really good friends with Janice Novakowski. I've learned a lot about gardening through yourself and through Megan Zenny. My walking curriculum inspiration comes from Jillian Judson. And so I've been really lucky to have met these people that can sort of inspire my ways of understanding and being with the land. So I'm just so grateful that I've had these mentors, and now I get the amazing opportunity to being a mentor to other people. So I do a lot of consulting now as an outdoor educator. I only work part-time in my classroom. So I'm grade 2, 3, Mondays to Wednesdays. And then I do outdoor consulting on Thursday and Fridays. So other districts in as well as across Canada and now actually in the States as well. They either fly me in or we do something virtual, and I help their entire staff get outdoors and get connected and find the curricular connections. And I also use my Thursday, Fridays to do a lot of author visit work. So I get to, again, go meet kids, tell them the process of writing a children's picture book.
Oh,
And they,
that's fascinating. We will
it's,
definitely talk about your children's books because
yeah,
you have a few.
yes, yeah, it's been quite
Yeah.
an exciting adventure.
I do realize that you also have a school garden that you have started a few years ago. But since our focus is more about, school gardens and growing food, and you do have that experience as well. So let's talk a little bit about that. How did it come about? Why did you get it started?
Absolutely. So, as you said, it was about 3 years ago now where we started our school garden. I was new to this school. It's just a few blocks away from my house. And for me, I needed something new. I needed a challenge. My area of strength is learning from the land. So, and what I have near me is a forest. I have a creek. I have a big grass field. I came from another school that was very, urban. So, sidewalks, blacktop surfaces. We can still find a lot of outdoor learning connections in those areas as well. But I had never tried really gardening. I had done, let's plant daisies in a little garden box. I had done all that stuff to highlight the science curriculum for our students about living needs and all of that. But I've always wanted to try gardening. So my first step is I looked for some grants. And so we had got one of the Go grants in BC. And with that money that we had, I think it was about $300, we bought a bunch of metal galvanized garden beds. So we started with six smaller galvanized garden beds, and we started doing things like chives and all, like a whole herb garden, and at least three of them. On the other side, we had researched all the companion plants. So we had, oh goodness, we had so much growing. It was incredible. We had tomatoes, we had different types of lettuce, we had cabbages, radishes, carrots. It was amazing. And almost to the point that every week we were out there, at least with my class, and I know with the other kindy classes that came out as well, every time we went out there, we could harvest and eat straight from there. We had a little rain barrel so we could wash our stuff out there, pop it right into our mouths. We had a little cutting board that we took out with us. It was pretty incredible for our first year.
Awesome. Yeah, that's amazing. And you were a kindergarten teacher back then.
It was,
Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah,
mostly you would be working with the kindergartners. So you're a teacher at the school, and most of the
yes,
work happened, I'm assuming, during the school day,
yep,
and right? Okay,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. And
because
so
that's
my
super important.
it is important because, again, I love Megan Zenny, and she said once, your school garden is like a classroom pet. You don't ignore it for months. You don't let it just die over the summers. You don't ignore it over the winters. It's a living space. It's a living being. So we have to be out there. We have to look after it, just like we would a classroom pet, or if you have a pet at home, you look after it daily. And so I think that has been a really great mind shift for a bunch of us. We are out there for my class. Mondays, I take the kindergartens out. Monday afternoons, I take the grade 3, 4, and 5 classroom. I take them outside on Wednesdays. And so there's a bunch of different classes that are getting different experiences in the outdoor garden classroom.
Right, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So one of the how do I say it, like maybe resistance
Mm,
or objections to
yeah.
school gardens when I talk to educators and teachers is that I don't have time for it
Yeah.
because I like especially like if you're in kindergarten, probably the kindergarten teachers are more open to it because their schedule is not as tight and as strict as a
Mm,
grade 3 or 4,
mhm.
classroom is. How do you find time, or how do the teachers of grade 3 and 4 find time to let you take their kids out there? And do they
Yeah.
come with you? How does that usually work? I think
Yeah,
that's one of the biggest questions probably in the audience's mind, especially the
for sure.
teachers.
Yeah.
When do you find time to do
Yeah.
this?
And for me, I block it in on my weekly plan, just like I do with my math block, like I do with my gym block, my library, my music. We have outdoor learning, or we know that on Mondays, even though it says math, we're actually doing math in the forest or we're doing math in the garden. So it's still our math block. I am teaching about number sense. I'm doing patterns. I'm doing measurement. We're going to do all three things out in the garden. I have three different math stations out. So it's the same curricular competencies that we are exploring. We're just doing it in a different, open, more flexible space.
Amazing.
Right? So it's we're doing the same learning indoors. We're still learning about patterns and measurement, but where we're going to reteach it, revisit it in a new area. So they get to make their own real world inside the classroom connections, which makes the learning so much deeper.
That's
The
right.
other thing that I think has really helped is we only just got it set up this week, actually. We got a grant from the Whole Foods Grant Garden. And so we use that money to buy a message center or like a trailhead sign. So it's this big bulletin board, for lack of a better word, that's covered with plexiglass, and I have a little lock for it, and I get to change out the posters. So what I've put up so far with the help of my teaching partner, Kaylee Dean, she's a kindergarten teacher, is we made posters that says, where is the learning in a garden classroom? And then we took our science, we took our socials. On the other poster is math and language arts. And we came up with all the different gardening skills that we can do in the fall and winter. So, all the gardening skills related to socials and how that relates to socials curriculum. All the gardening skills and activities that you can do in the garden in science, and here's the science curriculum. So, we are trying to make it really simple that you, no matter your grade, come on out, look at the sign. Okay, I really want to do something about socials. Oh, cool. We could do something about the history of the garden. So, maybe we'll do some mapping or we'll look at different perspective taking in the garden. That's our socials curriculum. And it's all there on the board for teachers. We've also added different things for every month. So November, how to help out in the garden. There's 4 different things that you can do in November. So you can come out with your grade 1 class and choose one, or maybe I'm going to give 10 kids that job. I'll give 10 kids that job, and they know exactly what to do to be helpful and to be respectful in the garden classroom. So that has, I'm hoping, because it just happened this week, is really going to help teachers see that, okay, I have a block of time for math or for language arts. You know what? Let's go do it out in the garden today because I know there's connections that's already out there for me, and then they can just take their class and get started.
That's awesome. That's amazing. Yeah, yeah. So if the garden is there, why not,
Why
bring the kids
not?
outside?
Yeah.
And I think what's really important in what you're doing here is making it easy for the educators so that they don't have to think about it. They don't have
Mhm.
to go research it. They don't have to go find activities for
Yeah.
outdoor classrooms.
Yeah.
And you also do it in a way that it fits your garden because you know your garden and you know what's there, what's not
Mhm.
there. Yeah. So hopefully let's cross our fingers and
I
see
think
how
it's
it
going to be
goes.
so great. Yeah.
Right. And have you told communicated with the educators in your school about it? Are they excited about it? How's it going?
I think so. I mean, we just had our staff meeting a few days ago, and so my teaching partner and I, we showed everybody the posters that we had made, came up with a few different activities that you could do in November, and I think also our collective enthusiasm for let's just go outside, just go try it, see what happens. Don't judge it on the first time because kids are going to be excited, and if you think it's a disaster, don't just stop. Try it again. Do it in small bursts, right? Go outside for 10 minutes, do one activity. Next time, wow, you were so great outside. Let's do it again for 15 minutes. And then keep adding time. Their stamina will get better. If you just, boom, you're outside for an hour, first time, not a lot of scaffolding. I think that is when behaviors come out. I have lots of support inside the classroom, and then we get to have that support outside as well. Not every classroom has that. This is the first time I've ever had to have 2 full-time EAs. So it's not that I have to have extra adults to be in the garden. I just have to have an open mind and give it a try, right? I'm going to set things up the same way I do inside my classroom. So at the beginning of the year, I tend to choose one routine, circle. I'm going to teach circle inside the classroom. These are the expectations. We listen respectfully, hands to ourselves. You don't have to speak. You always have the right to pass. And then as soon as we have that routine, we go repeat it in our outdoor garden classroom.
Right.
Same things, right? And so we can do all of these routines that we do indoors and make those connections outdoors. And it really helps with the predictability and the consistency for learners, right? So, yes, we're in a different place, but the same expectations for learning and playing and respect still apply.
Yeah, that's very important because the kids are usually used to being outside when they're on their own, like if it's a
Yep.
recess, for example, or
Hmm.
if they're at the park with their parents, and they think that it is, do whatever you want and scream
Totally.
loud and run around and do nothing.
Yeah.
So they're not used to that. And you're not
Hmm.
used to that as an educator. Like I don't mean you, you're obviously an expert in this, but if there's an educator who wants to take the kids outside
Yeah.
the first time, or it's the first week or the first month, or even the first year,
Yeah.
it takes a little bit of adjusting to and getting used to, and making sure that the kids understand that this is still a classroom, even if it's
Yes.
outside.
Yeah, and I think that was so key. You're calling it a classroom. So that language elevates the importance of the space. And so one thing that we also do at the beginning of the year, and then we revisit it maybe every month or two to see if anything has changed, is we create a Venn diagram. So over here, it's all the expected behaviors at recess time. right? As you were saying, it's that open-ended, unstructured time that's so exciting. What are all the things we can do at recess? And we make a big list. And now over here, what are all the expected behaviors during outdoor explore time or garden classroom or our forest classroom? And we write all the things that are expected there. And then where is it overlapping? When I'm with younger kids, I often make visuals that pair with it. So I'll say, are we going to the playground today? Nope. So then I put that picture away. Are we going to the garden today? Yes. So let's take a look at the garden. Let's remember, are we walking into the space? Do we run in the space? Do we scream? Why don't we scream? And then we really have to talk about the purpose of why we have all those expectations outdoors.
When we like before COVID, when we used to go like and me and my facilitators to grow the garden in schools,
Hmm.
that's what we did. And in my programs also that I give the lesson plans and all of that that I give to the educators these
Yeah.
days, it always starts in the four walls of the classroom. Like the
Hmm.
lesson starts in the classroom. We talk about the topic. We if there is any indoor activity, obviously seedlings and all of that, we do those, and then we set the expectations and we talk about the behavioral expectations and all of that
Yeah.
we're doing outside, and we review that. We go outside, we review those again just to
Hmm.
make sure that we're all on the same. And if the entire lesson is an hour, maybe half of it or, one third of it happens in the classroom, and then the rest of it, which is not way too long. And here we're talking about grades 3 to 8. So
Yeah.
mostly my programs are for those. But yeah, so the expectation is set. They know that this is the continuous the same lesson
Yeah.
that's continuing outside,
Yeah.
and that helps big time. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, for my class, we definitely do that same structure for September, October. They're used to listening really well indoors.
Hmm.
I slowly do take that part away, right? Because I want them to, no, now we just do it outdoors, right? Because you should now, we've had 2 months of this. We can sit outdoors, we can read our book. If it's not raining, if it's raining, we would do it somewhere else
Right.
inside, or we do have a very small undercover area, and we are slowly transitioning to all of it is now outdoors. But it
That's
takes
right.
time.
And you do have, yeah, it takes time. It
Yeah.
takes time. And we shouldn't give up, right?
No,
Because we
totally.
know, yeah, we know the benefits that it's going to bring to us. As long as we, know that it's going to take time, and it's a
Yeah,
habit that needs to be developed, not just
absolutely.
by us, but also by the students, and stick with it.
Hmm.
It's going to get better and better, right?
Yeah, I mean, if my math lesson doesn't go well inside the classroom because someone threw the materials or ran out of the classroom because they found it frustrating and needed a moment to like cry or something in the corner, am I going to give up on the math lesson? Will I never teach with those materials again? I'm going to put something into place. We're going to have free play with the materials first. Maybe they need free play in the garden classroom first. I'm going to put some systems into place. As soon as one of my learners runs away in the outdoor classroom, I'm not, oh, no, we can't go outside. We're going to put something into place. We're going to play different games about boundaries. We can play tree tag or garden bed tag so that they see where the areas of the boundaries are and they learn through games to stay within it. Right. So we just have to be creative. We don't give up in an indoor classroom. So let's keep going, keep trying.
Yeah, that's the spirit, right? That's the
Yeah.
spirit. Just because we as educators are not used to the outdoor environment, that doesn't mean that that's the problem. The problem is not the outdoor environment. The problem is that
No.
we're not used to it. So, I wanted to get back to the garden. So it's
Mm,
amazing what you're doing, because the garden already exists, right? And I'm hearing from you that growing the garden also happens during the class, right? So
yeah.
you are growing the garden, and then you're encouraging other educators to come and use the garden as an
Hmm.
outdoor classroom. That's amazing. So tell me a little bit about the growing of the garden. So what do you do so that the garden is grown?
Okay, so right now, because we just got this garden grant, we almost have nothing growing right now. We just bought 4 new beds, so we've got 10. They were in a very tight triangular shape outside, so sort of 3, 2, 1. Then we added a couple more on the outside. It was a very inaccessible space for some
Hmm.
students in with mobility issues. So we have to push some of our kiddos up there, but then we can't navigate in and out. And I don't want them on the outside of the garden beds because what if they unlocked their brakes or something? It just
Right.
made me super uncomfortable. So what we did with the students, we asked for volunteers, and every lunch hour we worked on this. And then Miss Dean worked on it with her kindies, and then I worked on it with my class during school time as well. We took out all the dirt, put it onto tarps, relocated the garden beds to being on the outside edge of the slope. So I actually had to dig part of the garden beds into the slope so that they weren't on an angle. They were dug into the hillside. Now our flattest space is on the inside of the garden beds. And so we can come up, we've left a nice gap so we can get up and through into the middle. We can have a circle. We can have stations and blankets with materials out on the flattest, most accessible area. I'm so excited. Now, most of our stuff, when we removed it, we've replanted a lot of it. So we got small little planters, tried to save a bunch of the chives. We saved most of all of the herbs we were able to save. And so we've replanted those. The new things that we've started planting for the fall is we've done cabbages, we've done broccolini. Hopefully our Brussels sprouts work. I'm not sure how they'll do. May have been too late. We've done garlic and a bunch of different bulbs, so tulips and that sort of thing. So we've done a lot of planting for the fall. We've got about 4 empty beds right now that don't have anything in them. So what we're working on with our classes is collecting a bunch of the leaf litter on the ground because there's so much out right now. We're collecting it and just covering stuff up. So at least there's lots of jobs that the students can still participate in over the
Mhm.
winter months.
And there's a lot of science and math and language and
Yeah.
social studies and
Hmm.
arts and all of that
Yeah.
that can be covered just for actually doing what you did, which is, rearranging your garden and all of that. I know that educators who are listening to this, their light bulbs are going on as we
Totally.
speak,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm really happy to hear from an educator, somebody like a teacher at a school who's doing this and who's doing this successfully,
Mhm.
because a lot of gardens unfortunately happen by the parents and
Yeah.
they try to take it on their shoulders and it just doesn't work
Yeah.
the same way as it works with a garden that's led by an educator in the school.
Yeah.
So what I always encourage parents who are really passionate about this is to go and find a teacher who's
Yeah.
excited
Yeah, for sure.
and, send them my way. Hopefully, those teachers will listen to this podcast episode
Hmm.
and, get inspired to do this, that it is
Yeah.
not that hard. Like you're not even full time at your school and you're doing
No,
so much.
right? Little bits and pieces. It really adds up.
Okay, so I also want you to tell us a little bit about your books because I know that you have a bunch of really exciting outdoor education books. Tell me a little bit about that. What is a sit spot?
Yeah, so a sit spot, it wasn't, first of all, it was not coined by me. It's something that I learned through the Soaring Eagle Nature School and their work, which is so closely aligned with the Wilderness Awareness School in Washington. And the founder of that school, John Young, had written a book called Coyote's Guide to like connecting with nature, kids with nature. And it is a wonderful book. You have to take the information like we do with all books and make it context specific. So I've had to take those learnings and go invite different elders and knowledge keepers from the Coquitlam district or Coquitlam Nation, as well as our Musqueam Nation, and to see where things overlap. But in essence, really, the sit spot, what I have learned, it is a place that you go visit repeatedly so that you can develop a relationship with that space, but you also, through that, get a much deeper relationship with yourself. We visit it during different seasons, different weather, times of day, so that you understand how to look for changes. What stays the same? What is changing? How do I feel when it's darker or wetter outside? What do you notice is growing beside each other? How is that special? What do you think is happening between those two living beings? There's so much that we can learn if we actually take the time to do it. I also have the podcast Teach Outdoors, which also has a lot of other amazing interviews from other people. From that podcast that I started a few years ago, I had a lot of emails and people through Instagram that would contact me asking for a picture book about what I was sort of teaching in the podcast. And so I was like, okay, sure. If you want to know more about sit spots, that seems to be what people are really interested in. So then I wrote this book, Me and My Sit Spot. And so that girl in the front, I know it's hard because I blurred it out there, but that redhead girl, my hair's a bit darker and gray now that I'm older. That little girl is me as a child. It's a beautiful book about why we connect to nature and what we can notice when we're outside. It's just a beautiful, I just find it such a beautiful story. There's a second version of the book called Me and My Sit Spot for Early Learners, and it has the same illustrations, but instead of 4 to 5 sentences per page, it's only one simple sentence. And that book has been accepted by districts in bulk, in thousands. So they will contact me, put a book order in for 3,000 books so that they can give one of those books away to every incoming kindergarten student for that year, which just
Amazing.
shows that districts across Canada are saying, yes, outdoor learning is important. Here's a story about a young child with crazy wild red hair that's trying to connect to nature, saying that there's no wrong way really to connect to nature, but this is a respected way of learning. And I've also translated it into French. But I've also got the other book that I
Yeah.
wanted to share with you, and it's called Finding Common Ground. The secret between us is that this is really supposed to be my two children. So my son and my daughter there, they're very different kids, very different. Point of finding common ground as a parent and as an educator is the beauty in having such a range of personalities. That's the point. That's the point of biodiversity. We don't just want alder trees. We need to have alder trees beside hemlock trees, beside the cedar trees. That's what makes things strong and interconnected. And I find that if we can have that perspective looking at our group of students, yeah, we could look for me this year. Oh, I've got a tough group of kids. Woe is me. No, I've got an amazing tapestry of kids. They are all amazing. Some have challenges in this area, some have challenges in that area. They have strengths here, they have strengths in there, and they have strengths over there. So let's find ways to connect over our strengths, not over our weaknesses. And so it's that book that really highlights diversity, inclusion in an outdoor classroom setting. We all need each other to grow stronger through different common experiences.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it goes very well with, the ideas of companion
Yes,
planting, the ideas of permaculture. There's diversity
exactly.
in it. There's diversity in the soil, there's diversity in the species, the plant species, as well as, the animal species and
Yep.
all of that. And bringing that into even a vegetable garden, with companion
Mhm.
planting, with making sure you were talking about, covering your soil with leaves,
Yep.
right? And that is amazing because it brings biodiversity to your
Mhm.
soil, which then later on helps your plants better when they
Yep.
grow, in the next season or whenever you decide to plant in them, and all of
Yeah.
that.
And then the
Yeah.
exciting news that's coming up on November 26th. So hopefully everybody can join me. I'm having a free virtual book launch for my third book, and it's being published by,
Oh,
yeah,
yay.
it was picked up and published by the Outdoor Learning School and Store, which is in Invermere. So it's nice. They're another Canadian, amazing group of people. And it's called Sitting with Nature, An Educator's Guide to Sit Spots. It's not a picture book. It's a teacher guide. So everything that I've sort of been talking about, how I introduce outdoor learning to students, how my flow of the day works when I'm outside. And then it has 20 weeks of different sit spot prompts that you can do with your class. And it's all related
Oh,
to our
wow.
curriculum. So you could look up the math week, and then here's 5 different prompts that you can do related to math, and then I do an elaborated lesson. So here's a picture book, an anchor book, a mentor text that you can read, two different activities that you can do with younger students, an activity for older students, how to reflect in a circle, and then having different formative assessment strategies. Really good for educators when you're outdoors. So I'm really excited about that. I hope everybody can join for that as well.
That is
Yeah.
amazing. Okay, so is there any way I can share that with my
Yeah.
audience? Like, I know that you talked about it, and we can put links in the show
Perfect.
notes of this podcast episode. But I would also love to send it out to my email
Yes.
list of teachers. Yeah. So when I see something exciting and amazing like this, I'm like, I want to tell everybody.
I do
So,
too.
when did you say it was again? Let's
It's
repeat
on
that date.
November 26th.
Okay, so that's not too
No,
far
it's coming
away.
up.
It's like 2 weeks, three
Yeah.
weeks, pretty close. So yeah, I would like to encourage everybody to go in the show notes and make sure that you join this launch. It sounds really good. Sounds really
Yeah. Thank
amazing.
you so much. I'm pretty excited.
Okay, so is there anything you want to add? Any message you want to send to educators?
I'm not a gardener. I'm still out there. I am learning so much. I am okay with making mistakes. Last year, the squirrels ate all of my tulips. I was so sad, right? So I'm learning how to protect what we grow from all the wildlife that lives around us. But it's also really important lessons for me as well as the learners. So I think it's almost better that the students know that I'm a terrible gardener. I don't know if that plant is doing okay. Let's go research about it. Okay, yellow leaves. I'm not sure. And so I am learning at the same rate as my students. And I think that's a wonderful thing that we are on this journey together. But I'm open and I'm excited to become better and learn more. And, I'm going to so many different gardening workshops. I'm constantly down at Garden Works asking them a million questions. And so I'm reaching out to people that are going to help me along my journey. So if you are similar to me, don't worry, we can do it together, right? We're learning together, and I think as long as we're trying, that's all we can do.
Yeah, awesome. That's amazing. That's usually what I mean, educators usually think that they have to be the best, or they have to be a gardener, or they have to be an expert in
Yeah.
something before they can
Hmm.
teach it. And that's usually the case with, math and language and all of that. They are far ahead of their students in those
Yeah.
areas. But that doesn't mean that the same doesn't apply necessarily
So,
to
mhm.
gardening or growing food. And as you said, it is even better when the students know that you are learning alongside
Yeah.
them. The growth mentality,
Yeah.
that we're growing together, we're learning together. Yeah, so we don't have to be perfect and we don't have to know
No,
everything. As long as you're just 2 steps ahead of them,
trying.
right? Just 2 steps ahead of them. You don't have to
Yeah.
be an expert,
Yeah.
right? Thank you so much for being here. I am excited and looking forward to your book
Thank
launch.
you. Anybody has questions, don't
Okay.
hesitate to reach out. So I'm Lauren MacLean at teachoutdoors.ca, and I look forward to connecting with more people.
Awesome. Great. All the links will be also in the show notes. Make sure that you check them
Awesome.
out.
Thank you so much.
You've listened to the entire episode, and for that, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please leave me a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And please share this episode with other teachers who might be interested in this topic. See you next week for a new episode.